Hi, parents. This is Mrs. Woodwike. Like everything else right now, I really wish we could be doing this in person, but I hope that you're finding our information helpful in these presentations. So what I'm going to be focusing in on is the basic schedule for the middle school and also the registration process. To begin, we're going to start looking at the basic daily schedule, which you will see listed in front of you here. A couple of things to point out to you. You'll see that your son or daughter will take 6 classes next year every day. They are split equally around lunch, so 3 classes before lunch, 3 classes after. Each class is 57 minutes long, and you will notice that they have 4 minutes between classes. You'll also notice if you look carefully that there's extra time added to that first hour class, and you'll see that HR designation. That is because we do have a 20-minute homeroom attached to whatever first hour class your child has next year. In homeroom, we say the pledge, we read the daily announcements, and then it's kind of a utility time where people get ready for the day. Most students will stay right in their first hour class and either read or do last minute studying for tests or quizzes that day. But sometimes they may need to go see another teacher to maybe ask a question about homework from last night, follow up on something from when they were absent, or maybe they need to go to the media center to print something or check out a book. Like I said, it's kind of a utility time to get everyone ready for the day. After 18 minutes, a bell rings, which tells everybody, hey, get back to first hour, class is about to start. You'll notice that school starts at 7:50, significantly earlier from this year, but it also gets out earlier at 2:45. You'll notice that doors open at 7:15, and at 7:15, unlike the intermediate school, students can come right into the building. I don't recommend, if you're dropping your child off, I don't recommend they get here at 7:15. If you need to drop them off early for work, that's fine. Most students end up getting to school right around 7:30, and that's right around the time the buses drop off as well. When we look at the middle school, we're looking at 6 total trimesters that will have your students at the middle school. Your students will have 6 trimesters of math, English, social studies, and science. Over the course of those 2 years, they'll also have 4 trimesters of physical education and health. 2 trimesters are required in 7th grade, 2 trimesters are required in 8th grade. In 7th grade, they do have the reproductive health unit, which takes the better part of 1 trimester. Also in 7th grade is a 1 trimester computer class that is required. The rest of their schedule is filled with electives. Next, I want to show you a couple sample schedules. This sample schedule is for a music student. The student will be considered option A in the registration process. A few things to point out here. One, you'll notice that there are 3 trimesters listed. You'll also notice on the left-hand side of the screen here that we have 6 classes listed. The classes that you see listed in red are required. The classes in black are electives. So you will notice in the sample schedule that the student has math first hour all year, social studies second hour, science third hour, and English fourth hour. The student has phys ed and health fifth hour first try, fifth hour second try, and then that required computer class 5th hour, 3rd trimester. As this is a music student, you'll see that their schedule is complete with band or choir. Band and choir at the middle school level are full year classes. They meet every single day. In order to take band in 7th grade, they had to be in band in 5th and 6th grade. You can't start it in 7th grade. Choir is obviously not that way. Now, if a student does not want to take band or choir, here's a sample schedule of a student who has the same schedule 1st through 5th hours, the student I just showed you, but this student is rotating through 3 one-trimester electives. In this example, you'll see creative writing, advanced PE, and business. Now, I want you to know that while this is a realistic schedule, it's a very, very simplistic, nice, neat schedule. And what I mean by that is you'll notice they have their core classes the same hour all year long. And while that may happen for some students, what's more likely is that they'll have some changes, some variation in the hours that they have their class. And what I mean by that is maybe first hour, first trimester, they have math, but they might have math second trimester, third hour. And maybe they have math second hour, third trimester. The class can bump around trimester to trimester. However, we do make sure that they stay with the same teacher all year long. Primarily that movement in the schedule is based on these elective classes. Students are used to kind of having their encore at the end of the day, and in this sample schedule, it kind of makes it look like they're going to have their electives at the end of the day. And that may happen. However, electives are offered every every hour. So core classes end up getting bumped around in order to accommodate those elective classes. The other thing I just like to point out is you'll notice the sample schedule. The student has advanced phys ed the same trimester as the required phys ed class. You need to be aware, and your student needs to be aware, that if they sign up for advanced PE, it is completely possible that that class will be the same trimester as their required phys ed class. I get concerned students every year saying, I ended up with advanced phys ed the same try as my required phys ed, and if I can change it, I will. However, a lot of times I can't. Most kids say that it's not a problem. However, I just like everybody to know ahead of time that if you sign up for advanced phys ed, it may end up being the same trimester as your required phys ed. Looking forward just a little bit to an 8th grade schedule. This is a music student. So once again, required classes are in red, elective classes are in black. The schedule should look very similar to the 7th grade schedule. The 7th grade music schedule, you'll notice that they have band or choir all year. The main difference is the computer class is not required in 8th grade, and you'll see here it's been replaced by a 1 trimester elective. Also in 8th grade, you will note that students can take a full year of Spanish or French. And those are, once again, like band or choir full year classes. And so this student ends up taking Spanish and then has that 1 trimester elective. In 8th grade, if a student doesn't want to take band, choir, Spanish, or French, they end up taking 4 1 trimester electives. Now, since so many of the classes at middle school are required, we spend a lot of time thinking about elective classes because this is where kids have a choice. So these are the electives that your son or daughter could choose next year. I want you to let you know that on Wednesday we will be sending them via Schoology the course selection guide. The course selection guide describes every class at the middle school, and we'll want to encourage you and your student to read through that to make sure you're making good decisions when you're selecting your elective classes. Couple comments about math. You may be aware that there are 2 general education math classes offered at the middle school level, Math 7 and Accelerated Math. Most students will take Math 7. Some students, however, will qualify for Accelerated Math as a result of several indicators. Now, the truth is, because of all the changes this year, we are a little bit behind on math placement. Not to worry, we'll get it done. Your student will be placed where they need to be placed. However, we are a little bit behind, but we want to let you know that you will receive a separate email about your child's math placement at a later time. Your child's math placement may require a placement test prior to the start of next year. All that information will be heading your way over the course of the next few weeks. We do not have to have this particular factor figured out in order to go ahead with the registration process. We can handle it kind of after the fact. So these are the things that your son or daughter is going to need in order to register for 7th grade. They will need to have access to the middle school course selection guide. They will need to have access to and fill out a Google form. They'll also need access to PowerSchool. And then finally, I will be sending them a video and type directions describing how to register for middle school. Except for the access to PowerSchool, which they already have, the other 3 things will be sent out to them on Wednesday in Schoology. And just to show you real quick, this is part of the course selection guide. It's a many-page document, but starting on page 11, you will see these are the elective classes. So students will be able to read through the full description of classes before they make up their mind about what classes they might like to take. I believe it's page 11 through 14, I believe, are the elective classes. The other thing that I wanted to point out is that they will be receiving a registration Google Doc, which will look like this. It will ask for their first and last name. It will ask if they want to be an option A or option B student. Option A means that they want to take band or choir, and they're just going to have to check which one they want. If they're option A, they'll also have to check band or choir. If you're an option B student, this question is left blank. And then finally, everyone, regardless of their option A or B, will need to come down here and rank order their electives. By clicking on this little arrow, you'll see the list of the one trimester electives that are offered for seventh graders that they can choose to take. And we're going to be asking them to enter them in order. So like this is their first choice, number one choice. This would be their second choice, third choice, all the way down through number 8. Now, we primarily use this for alternate purposes. We try really hard to give kids the classes they really want. However, sometimes students do end up with their alternate classes. It's highly unlikely that we would need to go down to their number 8th choice. However, this is helpful for me when I'm working on their schedules. So we just ask that they spend some time inserting that information. Here we just kind of ask them to stop and review their questions. Does everything look correct? And then we have a check mark. Have you discussed this with your parents? Now, I will tell them this. It'd be helpful if you could remind them before they click submit. It would be helpful for them to take a few notes about what their selections are here, because after they finish this Google Doc, they will be ready to go into PowerSchool and register and pick their classes in PowerSchool. And I don't want them to forget what they put on this form, because you really want the information in PowerSchool to match what they put in this form. So taking some notes could be helpful. And then, like I said, they'll also be receiving a video from me, as well as type directions from me in terms of how to register. And that will come out on Wednesday, and they will have from Wednesday until Friday to complete the registration process. Upcoming important dates. We just talked about April 22nd and really the 22nd to 24th as well. So this is kind of the big week for registration. If students do not register by Friday, the following Monday, I will go ahead and start kind of contacting them, contacting you, seeing what I need to do to help get that registration process done. It is true that in general, we're being pretty flexible about due dates. However, I do ask that students really try to get this done in the 3-day window that I've given them. By June 5th, you will be receiving that email, that math email that I already talked about. In the middle of August, you will be receiving a packet of information from the middle school. It's going to have a lot of good information in it. Spend some time going through that. August 17th is the tentative date for Kickstart. The actual date will be given to you in that packet in mid-August. Kickstart is a really important activity for your son or daughter. I would highly, highly urge you to have them attend, particularly this year. Normally, I go through a whole transition activity with 6th grade students. Normally, I'm in their class multiple times talking about 7th grade. I take them up and they get to sit in some 7th grade classrooms. We normally do a panel discussion with current 7th graders. None of that can happen this year. And so therefore, Kickstart's going to be even more important. Kickstart is when students come in and they pick up their schedules, and the school is open, so they're able to find their way around the school, find their classes, find their locker. Students are so much more comfortable those first few days of school when they've already been in the school and have found their way around. It's just really, really important that they attend. Kickstart is, like I said, when they get their schedule. So this week, they're going to do their registration. They're going to tell me what elective classes they want, but they're not going to find out what classes they actually got or what teachers they received or what hour they have math or science until they come to Kickstart. So that's really important. Also at Kickstart, we have school pictures taken at that time. We usually typically also hand out Chromebooks. Now, I don't personally know even what we're going to do about collecting Chromebooks at the end of this year. I don't know what we're going to do about that, but I do know at Kickstart, usually we do hand them out again. So Kickstart's a really important event. And then finally, I don't have an official date for this, but some students may require a math placement test, which would be referenced in that email that you'll receive by June 5th. And that concludes our presentation today. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation. If you have any questions or concerns, please do reach out to us. It's hard to know always exactly everything that needs to be covered and what individual questions that people have. I'll mention here that Mr. West, our principal's information is listed at the top, including a phone number for the middle school and his email address. And then you'll see my information below with my email address. Mr. West is working many days in the morning at the office, and so that's why I listed his phone number at the middle school. I am solely working from home right now, so the best way to get a hold of me is going to be email. We hope this has been helpful. Please just let your students know that they'll be receiving information from me on Wednesday, and throughout this whole process, I'm definitely available through email, or students can send me Schoology messages as well. Thank you so much for your time today. Have a great day.